Hello there. Welcome to whatever we're calling this show. Hello there. Welcome back to SiDEQUEST. So this will be our final part of our watching / commentary / discussion on these George Lucas interviews. But without further ado, let's get started. So, prompter was asking him about dreams for the future.
My life is making movies, and I like storytelling, and I've got a lot of stories that are stored up in my head that I hope to get out before my time is up. And so for me, looking at it, it's just a matter of, how can I get through all the stories in the amount of time I have left? And my dream is that I get to do it. I think that was my dream when I was younger too. Will I get to make the movies? Will I get to do what I want? And I've spent a fair amount of time doing that, and by serendipity ended up starting companies and building technology and doing a lot of other things which are related to me getting to make the movies that I want to make. So it's I've always just followed my own course of whatever I found the most interesting to me at the moment. I've never really had a real plan of I'm going to get from here to there and I got to do this. And the underlying plan to everything is I've got a bunch of movies to tell, and I sort of sort through and say, well, this is the one I'm going to do now, and this is the one I'm going to do next, and then I focus on the one at hand.
Focusing on the one at hand. The whole idea of living in the moment, like it's very not to be shilling my stuff again, but it's very clearly like I at least I imagine that idea came into his head from him studying East Asian philosophy, where it's very much, there's a lot of emphasis on live in the moment, don't dwell on the past, don't worry about the future, you're living in the moment. Like that's one of the core things in a Taoist philosophy. Do you guys have any excuse me. Oy.
Bless you.
Thank you. I don't know where that came from. Do you guys have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's the plea of my life anyway, is do I get to do X, Y, and Z? Do I get to live long enough to, be able to put the work in to get the stuff done? And that's something that, I don't know, it seems to be a driving factor behind people when they really want something, is like whether or not you're going to be able to see it, because you understand your own mortality. Or is it morality? That's not morality. Sorry. Whoops. Woo. English. Okay.
Mortality. Yes.
I said that.
Yes. Yes, you did. Yes.
You know what?
You're good.
This is people start
you're second guessing yourself. You got it right the first time. Got it hole in one.
Swahili, and then you're gonna switch over to Arabic, and it's just, I don't know, man. Just.
All right. Well.
Well, I think there's something to be said for the not scattered mind, and there's certainly something known as ADHD, but there's also something known as making yourself busy. In America, we like to make ourselves very busy. We have to be busy doing something. If we're not busy doing something,
very workaholic culture.
Yes.
In comparison to
if we're not busy doing something, we're not being productive. And I think when it comes to being present, being mindful, which is a whole new trend, especially in America now, being mindful, being present, being in the moment.
Right. Precisely.
And that's I think that's a good thing. I think that we could do with a lot more of that. So my point being here, a long rambling point, but the point being here is that people who seem to be in the present, in the moment, seem to accomplish a lot more, or maybe they just accomplish a lot more of what they wanted to accomplish, um, versus just being busy and not really accomplishing much. I'm done.
Cool. Yeah, no. Very yeah, good commentary from you both. So yeah, to those only listening, not watching, it's asking him about the next step. ... I'm not sure what it's in reference to.
Say if these tapes are seen in the future, people already know what happened, but so it's hard to do something because next year it'll be very dated. But I think that there will be more access to entertainment at home on the view-on-demand systems. There'll be films that are a much narrow bandwidth in terms of the kind of audience they appeal to. So you're going to see a much wider variety of the types of films that are made, and I think that's exciting. You're going to see films that or interactive multimedia that is really not films, but it's more like games. You're going to have reference material, interactive multimedia, and you're going to have games and music, and all of these things are going to converge. You'll have distinct storytelling events. You'll have interactive events that are more like games, and you'll have kinds of events that are like music where you primarily listen to them, but there are visuals that go along with them and or interactive capabilities. So a lot of these things are going to merge. They will have their distinct identity, but they'll be different.
He already knew.
Yeah.
He's that's what we call a visionary. Just
But he's smart enough to combine those two together, right? Like video games have been around how long by '89, and then Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RP games and stuff like that. Like he was definitely aware, and then
well, no, you're 100. You are on the dot because it's like I've watched a lot of interviews with Sam Witwer, and it's like he talked about his involved in the Force Unleashed game. And it's like he talked about how, one of the reasons he was cast was because he looked like the guy from the concept art. It's like, what? That makes no sense. That's not how games work. But it's like, oh, no, well, George, said that he wanted to approach the creation more like a movie. And so they got to, because, they pioneered some, scanning tech. And that's why Starkiller is 1-to-1 with Sam Witwer. It's like, before... It was a semi-commonplace nowadays. You just have facial scans or of actual actors. So, but that was among, if not the first, for that at least.
It's having Starkiller.
Starkiller as a facial scan of a actor it put into a game. But yeah, no, you are right on the money of the just combining and figuring. And does that involvement, he did that 2008, so yeah.
So then George is a magician.
He very well might be.
Industrial Light and Magic.
Clever. But next, prompter's asking about the American Dream. ...
Gee,
Dot.
that's a very hard one. I don't know, because if one were to say that well, I don't know what to say about that. It's a very, very complex question. I would like to see our society mature and become more rational and more knowledge-based, less emotion-based. I'd like to see education play a larger role in our daily lives, and have people come to a larger understanding, a bigger picture understanding of how we fit into the world and how we fit into the universe, not necessarily thinking of ourselves, but thinking of others. Whether or not we're going to accomplish that, I'm not sure. Obviously, a lot of people have a lot of different dreams for what America should be and where it should fit into the thing. Obviously, very few of them are compatible, and very few of them are compatible with the laws of nature, human nature and a more cosmic nature. Because I guess human nature is battling constantly between being completely self-absorbed and trying to be a communal creature. Nature makes you a communal creature. The ultimate single-minded, self-centered creature is a cancer cell. And mostly we're not made up of cancer cells. But if you put that on a larger scale, you have to understand that it's a very cooperative world, not only with the environment, but with our fellow human beings and all kinds of things. And if you do not cooperate, if you do not work together to keep the entire organism going, the whole thing dies and everybody dies with it. And that's sort of a law of nature. And it's existed forever, and it will continue to exist unless we sort of figure that out and begin to. We're one of the very, very few creatures that have a choice and an intellect to be able to intellectualize the process. Most organisms figure it out or are wiped out, or adapt. They either adapt and become part of the system, or they don't and they get wiped out. The only thing we have to adapt to the system is our brain. That's our main. That's our shell. Those are our claws. That's our camouflage. That's what we use to survive. And if we don't use it, if we don't adapt fast enough, we won't survive.
Very profound. So there's, I mean, the whole thought of everybody's got their own ideas, very few of which are compatible, and then he went on about he's on the money. It is a very self-contradictory, like the elements of some people categorize, like say country A is a collectivist society, country B is an individualist society, and I guess you can say that in a broad sense, but there are elements of both in every person. How community-minded, how self-minded. It's like, it's as with everything, it's all about balance. Like, I mean, obviously, I think George and the morality of that Star Wars, leans much more heavily on the collectivist side, but at the same time, it's still like
the Sith fight the Jedi. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, because I mean the
in Kumbaya, the Jedi and the Sith are in a little circle, all holding hands.
But it's because what I mean by that is the light side is obviously portrayed as the quote unquote good and is much more collectivist. But what is the ultimate reward of those who underwent the training and whatever, like that Qui-Gon talked about? There's so much emphasis on is maintaining your individuality in the Force. So I think there's just those two elements, still finding that you find the quote unquote middle ground, which may not be at the center of the two, but it's still, I mean, that's what I view. You know, the balance of the Force is a very, very complex, sometimes self-contradictory concept in Star Wars, but
I don't think Luke is as much a middle ground as he is just the ultimate victory of the light side, because he did everything that Anakin couldn't do. And then, so all of these, that's why I think that he's totally a light side character. He might have fall to the dark or something like that after the events of Empire, but after that, he comes back and he's still able to redeem his father. That's a pretty cool, like, ultimate light side. So I think it pushes one way. And then you have to exist with all these kind of things, which I think Luke does, and that's where you're saying middle ground. But I think middle ground is not. I don't think that's portrayed accurate. And
that's what I mean, because he's contradict. Well, the way I view it, at least, is, the light side is feathers, the dark side is steel blocks. To find balance, you need very, very you know. There's a tiny amount of steel will outweigh a whole bunch of dark, like, yeah, on a scale, you know, right? Like, it's like, you know, the class. There's the what, but steel's heavier than feathers. I'm not sure if you know what I'm talking about. There's a funny video, but
no, but I am familiar with the concept of weighing your heart against a feather.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's the Egyptian. You know, Amit. Anubis weighs it, and if it's heavier, well, you're getting eaten by Amit. No, but yeah, the balance. It's all about balance.
Well, I think George Carlin said it best of all when he said, you're not trying to save the planet, all these people who are trying to save the planet, you're trying to save your own asses, because the planet's doing just fine, and the planet's going to keep on going a long time after there was plastic. But human beings, we may not be here. So
that is very apt.
We need to find that balance between the feathers and the steel, or the feather and a heart, because we should, I don't know that we need to, but we should. We're an amazing species. We should, have the chance to continue.
We need Bo-Katan Kryze.
Insert 2% joke. But
I'm serious. We need something. He's right. You need some kind of common. That's what I think Star Wars is, the common cause behind people. I think that enough people can just be touched by it that you might be able to do. I don't know. He is right. You know, you're fighting against the current. So as long as you're fighting against the current, that's good. Anyway, all right.
This is the way.
I think they're overusing it now in the season, but you're right. This is the way.
So as the prompter asks, or rather made a statement, in a highly competitive field, George Lucas and his contemporaries stayed friends.
When we were in film school, I guess the advantage that my generation had is when we were in film school and we were starting in the film business, the door was absolutely locked, and it was a very, very high wall, and nobody got in. Therefore, all of us beggars and scroungers down at the front gate decided that if we didn't sort of band together, we wouldn't survive, and that if one could make it, that one would help all the others make it, and we would continue to help each other. So we banded together. I mean, that's how cavemen figured it out. Any society starts that way. Any society begins by realizing that together, by helping each other, you can survive better than if you fight each other and compete with each other. The first farming culture started this way. The first hunting culture started this way. Everything started in cities, in city-states, and where we are today. It's just that we have a tendency to lose it when we forget that as a group we are stronger than we are individually, and we start to think of ourselves as we want everything for ourselves, and we don't want to help anybody else. We want to succeed, but we don't want anybody else to succeed because we want to be the winner. Once you get that mentality, which is unfortunately the way a lot of this society operates, you lose in the end. You can't possibly win that way. And my friends and I, even though we have become successful, part of the reason we became successful is that we were always helping each other. If I got a job, I would help somebody else get a job. If somebody got more successful than me, it was partly my success. My success wasn't based on how I could push down everybody that was around me. My success was based on how much I could push everybody up. And eventually their success was the same way, and in the process they pushed me up, and I pushed them up, and we kept doing that. And we still do that. And even though we all have, in essence, competing companies, we see it as if everybody succeeds, or my friend succeeds, then everybody succeeds. So and that's the key to it, is to have everybody succeed, not to gloat over somebody else's failure. That's what's helped us along, and we continue to do that, and we do it with younger filmmakers, and there's no way of getting through any kind of an endeavor without help from friends, and trying to be the number one person ultimately is a losing proposition. You need peers. You need people that are also at the same level that you are. And you never know in life when you're going to need help, and you never know who you're going to need it from. I mean, it's one of the basic motifs of fairy tales is that you find the poor and fortunate along the side of the road, and when they beg for help, if you give it to them, you end up succeeding. If you don't give it to them, you end up being turned into a frog or something. So it's something that's been around for thousands of years, a concept that's been around for thousands of years. And it is even more necessary today when people are much more into their own aggrandizement than they are in helping other people. I mean, the one thing about you here at the Academy here is constantly about public service, about helping others. I don't think there's anybody who's become successful that doesn't understand how important it is to be part of a larger community, to help other people in a larger community, to give back to the community. And it's not something you start doing when you've made it. Now I'm on the top, I can sort of enhance my joy and self-esteem by helping the poor underlings. It's when you are at the very lowest level and you're struggling. When we were in film school and stuff, we were all very, very poor. We were all very, very struggling. We all need jobs very desperately. And if one of us couldn't get a particular job, we'd send another friend in on the interview because we were hoping that one of us would get the job. And so you do it right from the very beginning. You can start every single day, whether it's helping your brother or sister, or helping your peers at school, or helping in the community. But it's not just a kind of public service thing. It's a way of life. It's a way of you reacting to your parents. Are great to help your parents. You don't appreciate that until you become a parent yourself, and then you realize how great it is when your kids do help you, or you help your, say, brothers and sisters, or you help your friends at school. Not only the friends that you are best pals with, but people who may be struggling, who you may not like that much, but as a group in your class, they need help, and by helping them, they don't drag down the entire class so much, and therefore you all achieve more than you would if you have a couple of kids that are sort of lagging behind and the teacher and everybody's sort of holding the whole class behind because these people don't get it. Rather than sort of criticizing them or making fun of them, it's much more logical and intelligent to help them to get up to the level that everybody else is so that everybody can move on. And if you do that all the time, it makes, it helps you personally, but it also, it's a good business decision. Let's put it that way. The ultimate thing is that you feel better about it. You feel better about yourself, and you're a happy person. And if America is the pursuit of happiness, the best way to pursue happiness is to help other people, because there's nothing else that'll make you happy. You can be as rich and famous and powerful as you want to be, and it will not bring you happiness. and that's said over and over and over again. It's such a cliche that it hardly needs to be said, but people don't understand that it's actually true. And you can find people rich, powerful, and famous, and they aren't happy. And you can find people who have discovered the fact that it's really helping people. It's really being compassionate toward other human beings that makes you happy. That gives you a spiritual fulfillment, and a kind of fulfillment that goes way beyond anything that you can buy. I say this is a 5,000-year-old idea, and every prophet, every intelligent, rational, successful person has said it, and it's a very, very simple idea, and the most important part of it is true.
Yeah. Not sure what else to say. It's just the simple thing drilled into our skulls as kids, and people still don't get it at times.
What's that? The golden rule?
Pretty much, yeah. Or just, the placement, you just help other people get.
It is. Just follow the golden rule. You can't go wrong. And put yourself in people's shoes. I know that's impossible, but if you can mentally try to put yourself in somebody's shoes, and then that helps out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they're like literally every single major. It's like there's. I mean, the most prominent in the West is just the Christian version of that, but there's versions of that in freaking Confucian ideas, Zoroastrianism, freaking everywhere, and people still aren't getting it. just everybody wise, every single major source of wisdom keeps talking about it, and people. I mean, that's the thing. I guess. Just start. You just need to think more on the. I don't know. I'm rambling.
No, it's a very frustrating thing. I mean, the answer's so simple, it's almost ridiculous. And yet, at the same time, we see over and over and over again in our childhoods, in our teenage years, in our college years, in our adult years, both with ourselves and with others. And, we hear in the news all the time, and we read all the time in stories, and it's just, it's a baffling thing.
I mean, it is as you mentioned before, there's I do very much agree that there's contradictory elements of human nature. There is built-in selfishness and selflessness. I guess it all depends on context and the I guess, and I mean, not even necessarily reflecting upon the character of said person. Sometimes it's just context. People don't even realize afterward. It's oh, I could have done that, and they feel guilty about it. But it's but that's how you learn, right? You make a mistake and you realize, and you're oh, great. So, but anyway, any other thoughts before we continue, or?
It's a journey for every single person to experience for themselves, to live life. But the big thing is don't become hard in your heart. Don't become a stone. When you become a stone, it's very, very hard to not be a stone anymore. So don't let yourself get to the point of a stone, and you feel it. It's like Yoda says, why don't you travel down the dark path? Forever will control your destiny. It's real. When you start, it compounds, and you just keep going and going. And, one curse word leads to, at your mom, the next day leads to, you hitting somebody, the next day leads to killing somebody, the next day leads to you killing yourself, or, it's dark. So don't become a stone. And love. If you love people, you'll be patient, you'll be kind, and you'll be under self-control, which is my big thing. Self-control is always the big one I miss. And you can be generous and all that kind of stuff if you don't have self-control, like even in talking, like what I'm doing right now. All right, back to it.
Back to it. The obligations of success. I'd like to know about those. No.
What happens is, I think as you grow up, you realize that you have obligations just in your life, being a citizen, being part of humanity, to help other people, to help your country, to help the world. And you start out, when I started out and I wasn't successful, I taught and I did other things and got into several kinds of programs of help, charities and that sort of thing. And then when I got very, very successful, I didn't have the time anymore, really, to do that level of participation in helping other people. And I got into a loop there where I said, well, okay, when I get old, I'll give all these institutions all this money and everything. But I was still in my 20s, and things came along, people in trouble, schools and institutions in trouble, and I said, oh, I can't, we'll wait until I'm 50. I can't do this when I'm 20, and after a lot of struggling and sort of reflection, I realized that the time you have to give is now, regardless of how old you are. And it's kind of a realization, because one, it's kind of, you mean I'm in that position already. It's sort of a way of saying, oh my gosh, I'm one of them. I'm one of those old guys that gives libraries to schools and things, and here I'm only 20 or 27, and I think I've seen, again, a lot of people go through this who are working so hard, they wake up one day and realize that those things that they say, I'll do that someday, well, that someday is today. And if you have the means to do it, then this is the time to do it. And it's a little hard to do when you're building up your nest egg, so to speak, your security blanket, to give it away. And my feeling is you can't give the time away. You should give, part of your resources away. And so I think that's an obligation that you have to give back, no matter what happens. And it actually ends up being easier when you're younger, I think, than at that point when you become successful and suddenly, you realize you've gone into a whole nother realm of philanthropy, from just being a volunteer to being this person that dedicates buildings and saves lots of children in some faraway place.
Well, that really neatly tied in some of the two previous concepts, just the living in the moment and the living selflessly. Just so you guys just do it now.
George lives by example. And he says it's his joy thing, and he likes to talk about it too. And he's not afraid to talk about it, because it's encouraging. It's like, well, if what he's saying is true, then he realized that long before he was rich. So I don't think that's just something that he came up with when he was rich, because otherwise he wouldn't say it like that. He means it. Give now while you can. And even if you have nothing, there's a story in the Bible about Jesus, and Jesus was at this temple, and all these people were coming through and dropping off offerings and just huge amounts of money. And this one little lady comes by and drops off a little copper penny. And he said, that lady is like, that's the one. Like, she gave everything. That's it. You just give what you can, and then let that just be it. And then If it doesn't matter if you believe in God or not, just let that go with where it's going to go, and it will be something good. And then you just keep going in that direction, and it'll bring joy to your heart. It's very encouraging.
Very wisely put.
I thought you were going to say profound.
Yeah, I mean, synonyms.
That's one of your mannerisms. Remember how you're like, whoever's copying your mannerisms in 30 years.
I never realized that. But anyway, so I believe this is the final segment, and it's just asking, how do you see your contribution?
Well, you think about all the things in the end, and it's the most important thing to me is that I've raised 3 kids. I know that'll be the most important accomplishment of my life, and it's the most easily obtainable, especially because all you have to do is pay attention, and it's hard work, and most people don't realize that's the real gift they're getting in terms of goals and success and accomplishments. On the professional side, I've helped move cinema from a chemical-based medium to a digital-based medium. I guess that'll be one of the landmarks. And then I've left these stories, these little tales that have been imprinted on the media. I guess it'll be digital by the time it's finished, which will or will not be of interest to people in the future. I've done the best I can. They've obviously made a big mark while I'm here, but the interesting thing you find out if you study history is that you can make a huge mark during your lifetime, and a lifetime later it's forgotten. And you make something that you don't think is very important during your lifetime, and it lasts for 1,000 years. So you can't really focus too much on that part of it, because you really don't know what history is going to throw at you in terms of what's important and what's not important. You simply have to do the best you can, with what you're actually doing. And I'm hoping that I can make some change in the way the educational system works. And I think I've made some changes in the way the film industry works, and I think there will be more dramatic changes to come. And I'm enthusiastic about that. And I have a feeling that will be part of my legacy, I guess.
Yes, you have, sir.
That you did. Any closing thoughts on you guys' end?
That it's funny that's all he thinks. That, I mean, I guess that was 1990, 1989. So yeah,
I
but
believe so.
1989.
It doesn't say, but I guess by the looks of it. Fascinating little collection of insights into his mind, some practical ideas, some more philosophical musings. I quite enjoyed it. So, any other closing thoughts, or are we?
I just have a side note for SiDEQUEST. I was a bit of a fashionista when I was in my professional years, and I just love that shirt that he was wearing. It's just, I have to point that out. That was a great shirt.
It's a vibe.
It is, man. It's just a great shirt.
How do you know about that shirt?
Oh, I don't know anything about it. It's just a great shirt. I mean, it just fits him so well, and the colors and the uh, it's it, it's it's I love it.
Does he have green eyes or does he have red eyes? I can't tell.
I don't think. Uh,
I've seen.
it's like brown.
I'm trying to close-ups. Are you sure?
I can't zoom, but yeah,
Maybe-
I don't know.
Maybe that's why he chose like Portman then, because he liked the red eyes. Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's all we have for now. So, thank you, dear viewers, for joining us as always, and we'll see you next time. May the force be with you.
And also with you.
Some hero